Scientists installed a camera inside Michael's coffin for research purposes. When they reviewed the footage, they were shocked. Michael came from a wealthy family. His father was a real estate businessman who also enjoyed collecting ancient artifacts that were worth a fortune on the black market. His mother was one of the top surgeons in the country. Despite having everything he needed, Michael was a humble child. When he turned 18, his mother died of cancer, leaving him and his father alone. A few years later, his father remarried a beautiful woman who had a daughter named Sarah from a previous marriage. After the wedding, Michael decided to follow in his father's footsteps and build a career in real estate and artifact collecting. He quickly succeeded, showing the same business acumen he had inherited from his father. Sadly, Michael's father passed away after a short illness, leaving him lonely, heartbroken, and lost. Scientists installed a camera inside Michael's coffin for research purposes. When they reviewed the footage, they were shocked. Michael came from a wealthy family. His father was a real estate businessman who also enjoyed collecting ancient artifacts that were worth a fortune on the black market. His mother was one of the top surgeons in the country. Despite having everything he needed, Michael was a humble child. When he turned 18, his mother died of cancer, leaving him and his father alone. A few years later, his father remarried a beautiful woman who had a daughter named Sarah from a previous marriage. After the wedding, Michael decided to follow in his father's footsteps and build a career in real estate and artifact collecting. He quickly succeeded, showing the same business acumen he had inherited from his father. Sadly, Michael's father passed away after a short illness, leaving him lonely, heartbroken, and lost. Fortunately, his stepsister and stepmother were there for him. At first, Michael was hesitant to trust them, but over time, they showed him genuine love, sacrificing their time and resources to make sure he felt happy and comfortable. Eventually, he opened his heart to them, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions of his life. 6 months after his father's death, Michael returned to the family home he had inherited. He felt empty and guilty for living in another city while the house remained vacant. That's why he decided to move back. In just a few months, Michael brought significant change to the city. Schools and roads were renovated, and a small hospital was built. He also made generous donations to underprivileged communities and provided scholarships to many children. Everyone was happy for the young man and blessed him daily. Everything went well until one morning when the townspeople were shocked to hear the news that Michael had died. His stepsister Sarah had come to visit him and found his lifeless body lying helplessly on the floor. Although she felt he was already gone, she rushed him to the hospital, hoping her intuition was wrong. Sadly, it wasn't. The doctors confirmed that Michael was indeed dead. Despite all efforts, they couldn't determine the cause of death. They explained the situation to Sarah and suggested an autopsy to find the definitive reason. At the last moment, Sarah remembered that her brother had mild heart problems. She later provided medical records confirming this and explained that although he was taking medication, his condition might have caused his death. Therefore, she saw no need for an autopsy. Moreover, Sarah knew her brother had always opposed autopsies, believing they violated human dignity. She was determined to protect his beliefs. Before leaving the hospital, Sarah arranged for Michael's body to be stored in the morgue until she could plan the funeral. She was restless all night. Wanting to honor her brother one last time, she searched online for ways to do so. That's when she came across an article. It described scientists who studied the bodies of the deceased over long periods before drawing conclusions. Sarah realized that scientific research would be a perfect way to honor her brother, who had passionately wanted to make the world a better place. That evening, she contacted the scientists and told them they could use her brother for their study. They sent her the necessary documents to sign and promised a generous compensation, which Sarah pledged to donate to a local orphanage. The next morning, she organized Michael's funeral. The church was full, showing how much people loved him. Before placing the body in the coffin, the scientists attached a camera to the inside. The camera was capable of recording and transmitting footage directly to their computers for a year, or until the batteries ran out. To ensure regular updates, they set the recording time for every evening. The funeral service was solemn and lasted about an hour. By the end, everyone's eyes were swollen from crying. After the burial, Sarah left for another city, hoping to distract herself from the grief. Meanwhile, the scientists eagerly awaited that evening when the camera would begin recording its first footage. They all gathered around the screen, waiting to see what would appear. As soon as the clock struck evening, the camera began to stream live. Just seconds into the footage, the scientists gasped in shock. What they witnessed was beyond explanation. They immediately made a copy of the recording and rushed out of the lab, heading straight to the police station. None of them had ever encountered anything so terrifying. The next day, Louise, Michael's stepmother, was at her stepson's house, enjoying a glass of expensive wine. Suddenly, she heard a siren in the distance, and before she could react, a police van pulled into the yard in front of the house. Jumping to her feet nervously, she hurried to meet them. "Good afternoon, officers," the woman greeted them, forcing a smile so fake even a child could see through it. "We're here for Miss Louise," one of the officers said. "That's me. How can I help you?" she responded nervously, her hands trembling as she quickly hid them behind her back. Even before the police could explain why they were there, Louise began acting suspiciously. "What exactly do you want? Do you have a search warrant?" she asked. Then she rushed to the doorway, spreading her arms wide to block their entry, even though they hadn't yet tried to enter. "I know my rights. There's nothing here," she shouted. What happened next shook her to her core. The officers said she was under investigation because they suspected she had something to do with her stepson's death. Upon hearing this, Louise's heart jumped and she turned pale. The glass she was holding slipped from her hand and shattered into hundreds of pieces. In that moment, she realized there was no use lying or pretending anymore, so she decided to confess, hoping that the truth would set her free. She admitted that she had never intended to kill her stepson. All she wanted were the valuable artifacts he kept. She confessed to putting sleeping pills in his coffee and searching the house from top to bottom for the artifacts, but found nothing. When she returned to Michael's room and tried to threaten him into revealing their location, it became clear that he was no longer breathing. Knowing she would be blamed for his death, she forged medical documents claiming Michael had heart problems and gave them to her daughter Sarah, who genuinely loved her stepbrother. To cover her tracks even more, Louise insisted on skipping the autopsy, but at the last minute, Sarah gave Michael's body to scientists for research. "I didn't mean to kill him. It was a mistake," Louise pleaded. But just when she thought things couldn't get any worse, something happened that shook her even more deeply. The passenger door of the police car opened, and Michael stepped out, facing his trembling stepmother. Louise stood frozen, unable to move or even blink. She desperately wished this was only a nightmare. Unfortunately for her, it was real. The night before, the scientists had been stunned when they saw footage of Michael trying to escape from his coffin. The effects of the sleeping pills had worn off, and he woke up in terror, realizing he had been buried alive. The scientists immediately went to the police and explained everything. Together, they unearthed Michael's coffin and found him alive and struggling to breathe. He was rushed to the hospital, where his condition stabilized. It turned out Michael had long suspected his stepmother. He had taken the artifacts to a storage facility and hidden them. Louise begged her stepson to drop the case, but he knew she didn't deserve mercy. In the end, she stood trial and was sentenced to prison. When Sarah found out the full story, she couldn't believe her mother was capable of such a thing. She apologized to Michael, although she could never truly forgive her mother. Dear viewers, what would you have done in Michael's place? Would you take your stepmother to court? Let us know in the comments. And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye.